Hi there, my name is Jess Olivito, and I wanted to share a little bit with you about my experience with the Piece by Piece Mosaic Bible Study. Whether you decided to take this class on your own with a journal and your kit, or you decided to do it in a small group or with another woman, I kind of just wanted to share a little bit of what it was like for me as I embarked upon the Piece by Piece adventure. I actually was the person that wrote the foreword within the workbook, and I'm just going to read you a little bit of my story here. The two authors of the book, I met Jenny Spontak and Dee Everson at church during a time of deep emotional pain from a very, very difficult divorce. I was a complete hot mess, and I didn't trust a soul. I was severely depressed and lonely, and truthfully, even suicidal at times, while taking care of my little girl, who I didn't even believe that I was good enough to be raising anymore. Many days, I felt like I was hanging on by life, just by a single thread. When I registered for the Piece by Piece Mosaic Bible Study at church, I lacked a lot of quality friends because of some sinful things that had happened in my past. And I complicated things further by getting remarried again to a man at the time who was a hotter mess than me. What a mess. Honestly, I signed up for the Bible study because I just wanted to make a pretty mosaic plate and hopefully some new friends. But I didn't realize God was up to a lot more. Over the next 8 weeks, I found the experience with Piece by Piece to be incredible. The journaling component in the workbook, mixed with all the creativity and fellowship, it was beginning to heal many areas of darkness in my life. I was processing my feelings and I was applying the colors to the plate, and that gave me the opportunity to look at all the anger and all the resentment and many things that I had just been storing up in my heart. And I saw that there was bitterness towards my family, towards my ex-husband, towards my now new husband, towards my mom, for things from my childhood. And I was now in another difficult marriage and not knowing what to do. But what I really learned was how to spend time alone with God. I learned how to be transformed by His grace. So after the study, I really was a completely changed person. And you'll be happy to hear that my imbalances and my second marriage are being restored by God. The fellowship with other women was really incredible, and it opened up to my eyes to the fact that I'm really not alone. Even if you're doing this in a small group, just understanding that you're really never alone if you have a relationship with God. Even if you're just doing the study by yourself, you're not alone. During my time alone with God, I would write about how I was feeling, and the journaling helped me face my fears, my anxiety, some of the depression, and even the suicidal ideation. Oh, and that cute mosaic plate I wanted to make, well, here's the first one I made. And I just love how it turned out. And then I made another plate. This one I did a more of a Holy Spirit theme, and I did this when I decided to lead a group by myself. And then later on, God had changed my life so much, He told me to get into ministry. And this one has the Greek letter sozo in it. And we are a sister ministry of Piece by Piece. So God really can use anything to catapult people into their calling and help them understand their identity in Christ. And really, your ministry is with God. It's your own personal journey to knowing who you are. And I believe that That's why I'm passionate about the study, and I'm passionate about the creativity, and I'm passionate about the programming. And as I just mentioned, I facilitated quite a few classes now. So I thought maybe I would just coach you through, if you're by yourself or just with another woman, what that would look like together. Jenny and Dee have made an amazing set of teaching videos to accompany this. And then I'm going to walk you through some of the things in your kit. And then you're going to realize this really isn't that hard. And it's super fun, and it's engaging. And the study between the videos and the workbook and the journaling and the creativity, there's just so much to talk about and pray for each other and fellowship about. And it's just a great experience. All right. So, over the last, several years, we've learned a lot too about just really about the women who've participated in this study. And we've watched the study, as I put here in the bottom, in the forward. We've watched it provide healing no matter where it's taking place, whether it's in a home or a coffee shop or a consignment store or an art center. We watch women come together to share their prayers and praises. And we're constantly receiving testimonies from our creative overcomers. When someone experiences loneliness or anxiety or depression or grief or serious illness, we have seen this workbook perform miracles in their lives as they talk to God about it. And it's a privilege to witness to women processing their pain and watching them regain their strength and identity in the Creator. And we're just blessed to be on the journey with you. So we love seeing faces brighten as peace and trust is restored, and a man that never will disappoint us or leave us, and that's Jesus Christ. So enjoy the study. We'll walk you through the kit next, and we're just going to have a really, really powerful time, piece by piece. So what we're going to do now is actually watch a little bit of Dee Everson's story. She's the creator of Piece by Piece, and she'll walk you through how this all got started and works out.
Hi, my name is Dee Everson. I am the founder and co-writer of Piece by Piece. I'm so blessed that you decided to participate in a Piece by Piece class. This video is intended to give you a little bit of my story and to share with you how Piece by Piece began. I went to art school way back out of high school, and I worked in the art field up until I had children. And once I had children, I ended up in direct sales for work. I developed this intense love for the art of mosaics. So I picked up a book and began teaching myself. One of the pastors at our church did a research paper on the process of sanctification, and he shared a drawing with my girlfriend. She then shared it with me, and since I'm a visual person, I immediately got it and I understood it. And I also saw it in mosaic form, and that is when Piece by Piece was birthed, and that was the year 2002. This was just a few short years after I had accepted Christ as my Savior. I then made a mosaic plate for my girlfriend as to show how I saw her life in Christ. It was a gift, and all I knew at that point was ceramic, so I did it in ceramic. She challenged me to do a plate for myself. So I began to study color and what the colors represented. I wanted the plate to have special meaning for me and where my life was at that point. The color study then began to take shape, and this is the first mosaic plate in ceramic. I took some classes at a mosaic school, and I began working with different materials. I fell in love with stained glass. I just love the vibrancy of stained glass, so you will be working with stained glass on your plate. I began writing down all the different things that I had learned about God and all the different things that I knew about God. And I was doing a number of different devotionals at the time, and the subject of mosaics kept interweaving with the different themes that I was writing about. God had done some amazing things in my simple life. I began journaling about the small answers to prayers and about the outright miracles. He began to build my life and build this Bible study piece by piece with these stories. This project began when my children were little, and now they're all adults. So I really had to trust in God's timing. Piece by Piece is simply God's work in my life and my family's life. I am an artist. I am not very good with words. I never intended on writing a book, let alone a Bible study. God is the only qualification that I have. My hope and prayer is that you recognize the work the Lord is doing in your life and that you trust His plan for you. Your picture will also become clearer as more pieces come into your life. Piece by Piece is a gift. It was handcrafted by God, and it utilizes all my passions and gifts. It's really, really cool, and I'm so excited to share it with you. The interesting thing about Piece by Piece is that each of our lives are so different, and you will notice that when you see the plates at the end of the class. They're going to all be so unique, but they're also going to be all very beautiful. Your plate will be a masterpiece that tells your story right now. You could take this class at a different point in your life and have a completely different experience and have a completely different looking plate. I'm excited about this journey you're about to embark upon. I hope you can leave your cares at the door and feel God's peace and His presence as you work on your plate. I am praying for you, and I can't wait to hear your testimony and to see your beautiful plate when you're all done with this class.
There's also a series of how-to videos that just go through the safety basics, how to cut glass, those really important steps. Dee's going to walk us through how to do that. And then I'm also going to walk you through how to unpack your kit and get started.
Talk about the safety precautions. Each person must have her eyes covered if there is to be any glass cutting at the table where everyone's sitting, unless you have set up a separate area for glass cutting if need be. Any drinks on the table where glass cutting is done must be covered. Glass shards are very small and can get into an open cup. There will be no food where you are working with the glass. Shards and food do not mix very well. Do not lean on the table where glass cutting has taken place. Glass shards can get into the arms and elbows quite easily and can be hard to see and remove. Should this happen, one thing you can do is to cover the skin the shards are in with a thick and tacky tape. Press lightly and pull. This should work to remove the shards and will probably take some hair off your arms as well. Shoes must be worn where you are working. Glass shards can easily get into the feet. Ouch. It is very important that you talk about the safety precautions at each session to remind the ladies.
Hi there, so here I am with the Piece by Piece kit, and I just kind of wanted to explain how the kits are set up. So there is an individual kit that you can have shipped, or if you're going to a class, you can pick up in person if there's an in-person class. But either way, the kit will come with pretty much everything you need. The exception would be the charger plate. You will need a charger plate and also a small Elmer's school glue. It needs to be that particular glue, not glue all or other types of glue, school glue. And those are the only things you really need right away. Some cleanup stuff during the grouting process, but everything else is in there that you need. In addition, there is a leader's kit, and that has a few additional tools that I recommend along with uncut glass. So you can buy a kit with cut glass, which is probably the more popular option. Most of your glass will be already cut and tumbled, not sharp, and you're able to place it in the plate. But we also do give you a little bit of uncut glass, for a particular piece that you need to get to fit, for a little bit of custom work. But if you have more of a unique design in mind, or if God is speaking to you in a way where you just think you're going to want to do more of the individual cutting, you want that experience of doing your own cutting, and we have the videos and the how-tos to show you how to do that, you probably want to either purchase a kit with uncut glass or a leader's kit that has additional tools, one specifically, as well as more uncut glass that's going to help you as a leader have enough for your group, so to speak. So when you get a kit, you can totally function with just the cut glass kit with the tools you have. You can still cut a couple pieces, all of that. But if you think you're going to do major cutting, I recommend getting the uncut glass kit. And the leader's kit has those wheeled nippers, or you can buy wheeled nippers, and that will make the experience like primo as you create. Both kits are awesome and will give you the full experience. So they come to you and with the piece by piece, and they come in a nice box. The kit I'm unpacking right now is actually a kit for 2. And comes with the workbook. So just so you know, the books are in there, and everybody needs their own workbook. You can't really copy them because people are journaling. They're all in color. They're beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So there will be 2 workbooks in there. in addition to that, obviously there's going to be 2 of everything, but your grouting supplies with your, everything you're going to need for, almost everything you're going to need for grouting day. You're going to need like some newspaper and stuff, but really like stuff you have, okay? There's also our contact information if you need to get a hold of us. Here is this glass tile cutter, okay? So this is more one of the premium tools you'll need as part of the leader's kit, or, and that really makes it easier to cut if you're gonna do a lot of custom cutting. There's also like gloves and a mask and safety goggles. There's tweezers and a Sharpie and some other tools. Here's those safety goggles. Here's a cutter, the hand tool where you'll actually kind of be snipping pieces. This comes in every kit. Kitty always has to make a entrance. That's how you know these are home videos. That's okay. You get a tube of E6000 in case you run into a problem when you're grouting and you lose a piece. An eyedropper, which if you have to take a piece off. Tape, which you will need for grouting. But really, let's get into the cut glass. That's kind of it all comes over to you primarily cut. Got mirror and all these different colors already cut, ready to go, tumbled. However, as part of the leader's kit, you're also going to get this uncut glass, which we train you more in the videos on how to use. So we even give you some newspaper that's already cut out during the grouting phase that's got a hole in it for your charger plate. So we really have thought through this whole process. There's a video that shows you how to grout in week 8. So it's really all in here, and we walk through in the videos exactly what to do. But the kit is terrific. I highly recommend kind of pulling it out and looking at all your different pieces and colors. And here's your templates for the cross. So again, everything you need will be in here. And of course I just can't forget the wheeled cutters. So you will cut with the glass and then use this to snip. So together, these are important tools that come in every kit.
Okay, this is how your glass cutting table should be set up. Now your glass cutting table is best to be in a separate spot from where the ladies are working on their mosaics, so that whoever's working here has the goggles on. This is very important that they wear the goggles. If you have to integrate all these supplies on your table where everybody is working, every single woman will need to have glasses or goggles on for safety purposes. So on your glass cutting table, goggles, Sharpie, glass cutter, the running plier. If you have the leader's kit, this is in the leader's kit, this is your wheeled nipper, and then your pieces of glass, the larger pieces of glass. Also, you're going to want to have some kind of container to put the cut pieces in that are left over at the end of the night, because the glass in your kit is tumbled and not sharp, but these pieces are sharp, so you want to keep them separate. Also, you're going to want to have a little hand brush, and make sure you have a tablecloth or a table that is easy to brush off of. Not best to have a fabric. You want plastic or right on the table. Okay, if you purchased a kit with cut glass, that glass has been tumbled, so it is not sharp. So it's safe to handle, just like that. That's tumbled. If you purchased your kit with uncut glass, you will want to tumble it after you cut it. And I did a video on how to tumble glass. Please be sure to watch that. That's really important so that you have a safer experience for the participants of that class. But now I'm going to show you how to use the different tools in your kit or your leader's kit. We have a glass cutter. We have a running plier. And we have a wheeled nipper. Okay, those 3 tools are the 3 tools basically that we're going to work with. Now, when you're working, you're going to this actually doesn't cut the glass, it just scores the glass. Now, when you are working with glass, always be sure to work on the smoothest side. Both sides could be different. I'm going to work on this smooth side. And what I like to do is put my finger, my index finger, right there in that indentation. And this is the wheel that's going to give you your score. So you're going to want to put it on your surface, and you want to hear that line, that score, that you just want to hear it, you know. If you're doing this, you don't hear anything. You got to press. Now you could also go away from you or towards you, but what you don't want to do is go, you don't need to go more than once. One swoop at about a 45-degree angle with some pressure. Hear it score, and now you've got a good score. So now you've got your score. That's pretty much all that's going to do. This is your running plier. Now there is a notch here. I drew a line there because with a Sharpie, because this needs to go underneath your glass and line up. Line that line up with the score line, and that helps to just draw a line there. That's exactly, that line is going to continue onto your plier, and then you squeeze and snap, and now you have snapped your piece. You do it one more time. Line your line up with your drawn line, or there's like the center of the tool. Just draw a line, it's simpler. And squeeze and snap. So that's how you would make a strip. Now, if you want to make a skinnier strip, it's really hard, and it's probably not going to work if you work very close to the edge of your glass. If you want a really thin strip, generally this does not work, but we'll see. Yeah, it breaks. See, like that. Let's go this side and see what happens. Well, that one actually worked. Usually it doesn't. So what I suggest you do is, if you want a thin strip, work your way halfway. So we've already cut this. Now we're going to go halfway. We're going to work our way halfway. Helps to get a more even cut. Now we'll try it. Let's try going even halfway this. Might be too skinny, but we'll see. Wasn't the best line. Yeah, see, that's too close to the edge. You don't need to go too far into your glass with your score, but yeah, it's not gonna work. So work your way in. Okay, that's the best I can tell you for long strips. Now, if you want to do squares, we've got our long line here. And now I'm just going to make squares. You can do a whole bunch at a time just by getting your grid marks on there. Line your lines up. And now you can quickly snap. Okay, so that's how you do squares. Now if you want to do triangles, take your square, start with a square, go to the smoother side, and go on an angle. And then you have your triangles. Now you can even go halfway, make it smaller. The smaller you get, the harder it is to work with this running plier. But it actually works. Okay. Another thing you can do is, another tool you can use is the wheeled nipper. Now say you got a piece and it's, you know, it's not quite right. You want to get rid of an angle. This is called the wheeled nipper, and you just squeeze. Trouble is, you got to be careful. You got to kind of cup your hand around it, and now you can nip off an edge or make those pieces even smaller. Now this tool tends to make your pieces want to fly. Okay, so best to cup your hands to catch your pieces. Otherwise, you're going to be running all over the place trying to find your pieces. Okay, so this is great. Now you can also use this wheeled nipper to take a piece, cut it down smaller. Even get your triangles. Okay. You can also, if you want a specific shape, now we've got your Sharpie. You can mark right on the glass. Draw. Let's just say you want that. Okay. You want the specific shape. You can draw right on your glass, and then use your score, your cutter to just follow your line. Now, when you have a really thin side or a really wide side, always best to put your wide side and angle it on your pliers. Okay. So let's say you want this to even be there. Cut right on your line. And when you go to, you can wipe this right off. You go to grout, the Sharpie will come right off. Okay. Now, should you be working with a transparent piece? Most of our pieces have very little transparency. Make sure that you glue down the side that doesn't have the Sharpie on it, or wipe it off, because you could see that line through it. Okay. Most of our pieces, some have a little tiny bit of transparency to them. Okay, I want to show you how to use this nipper to get a different kind of a piece. I'm going to clean this up, my spot up a little bit. Just hand broom, little hand dustpan is great for that, hand broom. Okay, now this piece of glass has a real lot of texture on this side. You can see that. I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to use this wheeled nipper, and I'm just going to cut right on this. Oh, I'm bleeding. That's nice. When you use a wheeled nipper, you got to be careful because you're cutting these edges. They can be very sharp, and that's why I'm bleeding. That's why we need to have goggles on when you're working with cut glass. Super important. So now I'm going to just start an edge, and I'm getting these shapes. Now you can go in between. Okay. These are super sharp, so you have to be extremely careful with these, but really kind of a cool way to get some movement. Let's see here. You can create movement because they nest really nicely into one another. And now you can create a flow and a movement. I probably need to do a little bit more. Okay, so that, look, it almost looks like a leaf. There we go. There's a leaf. So that is another way you can use the nippers. Just be very careful when you're using these nippers, and you can use them to quickly just nip, you know, random shapes. If you need to just cut a bunch of glass kind of quickly, again, cup your hands around them. Okay. Or if you need to do, you want like little squares or something, you take a thin strip, cut them down a little smaller. It's great for like little tiny spots, little small pieces. And I think that is about it. Yeah. Okay, there you go. Okay, I'm going to show you how to tumble glass. Now, if you've purchased a glass kit that has uncut glass, you're going to want to cut your glass, have one color on each plate, dump your sharp pieces in some kind of container. Plastic is best for noise levels, and that you have a lid. And now you're going to shake for about 30 seconds. Doing this is going to remove all those sharp shards from your pieces of glass. Now this has produced some dust. So you're going to want to take a colander and go right over a garbage can, let that dust fall, and then you're going to take it to a sink and rinse it. Okay, now you're going to just dump them on the towel. Take a towel and just give a quick wiping and spread them out. They'll be dry. I don't know, maybe the next day they'll be completely dry. They'll be drier later today as well. So that's how you tumble glass, and then store it in a baggie, each color separately. Okay, I'm going to show you how to prepare your plate to start placing your glass. Now you're going to want to use your cross template and grab a Sharpie and just go around the whole thing and trace it. Okay, now when you go to put your pieces of glass, your mirror in your cross, if you decide you don't want to have everything line up exactly, it's okay. It actually looks really nice to let your pieces break out a little bit from the cross and not stick with these borders so much. But you can stick with the borders or not. It's just a suggestion. It looks really nice to break out of them a little bit. I'm a rebel. Okay, so what is going to happen is you're going to probably want to spend some time figuring out where your pieces are going to go. I'm just doing this kind of quick, and it actually is helpful to work with some tweezers. You can have you can bring your tweezers to class if you want to use your own tweezers, or if you're the leader, have the ladies bring their own tweezers. Now, the grout line, the grout at the end of this whole thing, your last class, you're going to grout this, and the grout's going to go in the spaces in between these pieces, in between. So you want your grout lines to be kind of consistent, all right? You don't want a piece here and then your next piece like way over here, all right? You want consistency between your pieces. You could put them even very tight. Gluing them later or cleaning it later is a little bit harder when they're super tight, when your grout lines are super tight. It looks nice to set your cross a little bit apart, your mirrored pieces a little bit apart from your pieces on the sides of your plate, because this grout line will be a little bit bigger. It'll set it apart, but you don't have to, just a suggestion. Now, if you're going to do a border, any kind of border, let's just say you want a border, you want to think about that right away. You can't do that later. You can't be like, have all your pieces in and say, hey, I want a border. It's not going to work. Border is like one of the first things. So consider that if you want a border. It needs to be done probably first class. Okay. Now what happens is you're going to spend a lot of time figuring out where all your pieces are going to go. And then it is very difficult to take them off and put them back on exactly where you had them laid out. You put a lot of time into that, and I've seen it be a real big problem. But what you can do, what does work, is you could take a picture on your phone. Once you get your pieces all in place, take a picture and then use that as your guide. And then one by one, you're going to go ahead and take your pieces. Now to glue your pieces, you're going to want your Elmer's school glue. Don't use glue wall or any fancy glue. This is actually the best. Simple glue. You want glue, a good layer of glue on your entire piece. When you put your piece down, you're going to want to press it. Glue's going to seep up a little bit, but that's okay. All right, that's okay. And then go to the next piece. Now this glue will dry clear, and it doesn't set right away, so it gives you some time to move them around. You know, if you don't like where they're at, rearrange them a little bit. It gives you time. This glue sets in about completely, I don't want to say 24 hours, but your pieces have to be set 24 hours before you can grout. Now, when you have glue seeping up, you have a rag here. It's good to just give your pieces a wiping, especially if the glue is real oozy. All right, and this is good for your fingers. Also, this glue, because this glue does not set very quickly, when you go to take it home, be careful not to tip it. Okay, these weren't really glued down. I didn't glue these, but because the glue doesn't set quickly, they can slide a little bit. So be very careful. Make sure your plate is flat going home. A box is helpful to carry your plates around. Let's see. You can glue an entire section. So say you want, I wouldn't glue a big section at a time, but you can put glue on your whole section and then put your pieces in. So save some time if you're kind of short on time and you trust yourself. You trust your little design skills there. It's easier. It is easier than putting one piece here, one piece there. Now, when you're working with a piece like this, it's got some texture on it. Always glue the flat side. And you got to look at your glass because it's different on both sides, but always glue the flat side down. Let's see, where do I want to put that? I'll put it right there. Now, when you're getting close to the edge of your plate, you do not want to put pieces going up your edge or on the slope section. You want to stay on this flat part. Where it starts sloping, when you go to glue, if you glue anything on that, you go to grout that, those could very easily pop off on grout day. Now, next week, say you've got all these pieces in place. Okay, I'm just going to throw a couple more in here for the sake of this video. Okay, next week you come in to class. What I suggest doing is wiping these really good, pressing hard, and getting the glue off and kind of cleaning it as you go before you start putting your next batch of pieces in for that week. And a couple of reasons why. Number one, it'll save you on grout day a lot of cleaning. And number two, if it's not glued down well and you're putting some pressure on it, they're going to pop off, and you'd rather have them pop off now than on grout day. Okay, grout day, you can put pieces back in place, but it's not so easy. Okay, just put a couple pieces in the cross here. Now, generally, most people put mirrored pieces in the cross, but there's a lot of women who might do things a little bit differently. Now, I suggest you go to your workbook here and think about how you might want to place your pieces. In the workbook, there are 3 pages with different women, and they place their pieces very intentionally, very strategically. This one she didn't even use mirror in her. Actually, this was mirror in the middle of her cross. So you don't have to stick with the mirror. The mirror represents you looking like Jesus. But again, if a different color means something else to you, you do what you want, what's going to be meaningful for you. But these are here to get you to think that maybe you might want to put your pieces down in a certain way. So think about that before your next class, and it can be super meaningful for you. I think that is it. Yeah, that's it. So this is how you get started, and then you just keep adding. It's always best to work from the inside out. You inside out, instead of putting a piece here and a piece there and a piece there, you're going to end up with a bunch of empty spaces that are hard to fill. So work a section, do a section at a time. That's really a whole lot easier in the long run. Okay. Okay, this is how you can remove a piece if you really don't like where it's been positioned once it's dry. Use your dropper, fill it with water, and then you're going to just squeeze water all around. We're going to remove this yellow piece all around. Let it sit. I've already done this, but let it sit for about 5 minutes. Then you take your pick and should, there you go, be able to wedge underneath it and lift it off. What happens is the water softens, it reconstitutes, it softens that glue and helps you to be able to lift it up and remove it. And that's it.
So what we'll do is we'll just take 1 second kind of going through how the workbook is laid out. As you can see, there's a great table of contents that kind of shows you each week what the subject matter is. There's a memory verse each week, and there's 4 to 5 days of kind of daily commitment where you're going to spend time with God and walk through some lessons. The lessons give you all kinds of ideas for journaling prompts and questions. Week 1, when you're meeting together, either in a small group or if you're just by yourself or with one other woman, how the study works is you're going to, the first week is just kind of read through the introduction and get going into the lessons. It shows you also all the tools that are laid out. As again, you've also seen those tools used by Dee in the videos, but the names of the tools and more. There's more information on the color coding, and there's even the color meanings for you to basically take the journaling words, that, you know, the things that you're seeing in a journal and equating those to words that mean colors. So there's a lot of great things. Dee also then goes through really the process of sanctification and really how God is removing some pieces, reshaping certain pieces, and helping other pieces fit in more tightly. So the journey continues. She talks about the color placement. And then for week 2, you're really getting into that journaling. What happens when we get back together, or if you're doing this on a weekly basis by yourself, is you're going to sit down and look at kind of the overviews. At the end of each week, there will be an overview and a fill in the blank, and that's a great group exercise to do. You can fill in the blanks together, and all the answers are found in the study for the week prior. If you're looking to, there is a leader's guide in the back, and that just gives you additional discussion points if as a facilitator or leader you're looking. It also has the answers for the fill in the blank overviews. You'll also notice there is a prayer and praise area. So that's a great place when you're in small group to jot down, when you're waiting for people to arrive, getting set up, you can kind of ask people how they're doing, or, if you're doing this with another individual, or just your own prayers week to week, other additional prayers and praise, because as we write these things down, we can see God answer them. So there's a lot of other discussion material in the back that will help you. There's also a leader's guide that tells you how to set up a table for a group, how to set up the glass cutting table, but the videos that you've already watched also are helpful. So feel free to review any video you need, or reach out to us at Piece by Piece Ministries. There's some contact information on how to get a hold of us on the website, and we're happy to answer any questions you come across, virtually, as you embark upon the study. We love your feedback, and we just can't wait to see all the incredible and beautiful plates and testimonies that come out of this creative experience. And remember, you are God's masterpiece.